Okay guys, so the games sign is behind me again, the game's neon. That means I'm going to be doing a games review. This time it's a little bit different. It's a console that I've seen online. Saw somebody else do it, a guy called Chase Brogan. Very, very good review he did. I'm going to leave a link to that up there and down in the description below. Please go and have a look at his video, watch his video because he goes into it really in depth. I'm not going to go into it anywhere near as in depth as he does, but I am going to cover some of the stuff that he didn't cover, some of the issues that he had, and the reason why I ended up buying two myself. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you my likes and dislikes. Spoiler alert, there's not that many dislikes to be fair. So, anyway, let's get started. So I had my second parcel turn up from AliExpress. That's this thing. Second parcel I've ever got from them, so I thought I'd try them out. And as I said, I'd seen this thing online anyway, so this is a due repeat, yeah, whatever. And this is my game console box. Quite a nice little box, as you can see. Zip it open, and in theory, we have the box in a little pouch, which is this thing, USB for the controllers. So this is the thing itself, awesome, and two wireless controllers. So this is different slightly from the one that Chase had, because Chase's one has got a wired link to it. These are the wireless versions. Did we get an English plug? Yes, and we've even got an English plug. So we are good to go. Okay, so to start off with, ignore the jumping screen for the moment. That's just more the telly than it is the console, so won't worry about that. I'll move on to another TV. This is just so I can show you on here. But as you can already see, it shows 33,423 games. Now when Chase did it on his video, he bought the 55,000 game version, and it said he only had 33,423 games. So he's got exactly the same amount of games as I've got on here. So I just think they sent him the wrong memory card. They sent him the 64 gig memory card rather than the 256, because he's got exactly the same amount of games he's got on the console I bought. I've got the wireless controllers and I paid less for it than he did. So I think he just unfortunately got sent the wrong unit. So that's it out of the box and up and running. They do a 64 gig, 128 gig and a 256 gig version. The 64 gig is 33,000 games. The 128 gig version has 44,000 games and the 256 has 55,000 games. I only bought the 33,000 version. So the games he got on in his video are the ones I wanted and the games I've got on mine, and also for the price. I bought the wireless version with two wireless controllers, 33,000 games, which I knew I was going to get 33,000 games because that's the one I ordered, for 25 quid. And as I said, I actually bought two of them, and I bought mine off of AliExpress. You can actually buy it on Amazon. Amazon do list it as well. You see it on the Amazon site a couple of times. But when I looked at it on Amazon, it was about 70 odd quid, something like that. But it has been around a while. It's not a new thing at all. It's been around for quite some time. It's just most people haven't really looked at it, or people have overlooked it because of the cheap price. And it's exactly what happened with Chase. But with me, I thought, well, I don't want to spend a fortune. There are games consoles you can buy with retro games on that cost an absolute fortune. Or you can go down the route of building your own RetroArch system or one of the Raspberry Pi systems with a hard drive. But even that can cost a lot more than this. So what is the thing that makes this so special at the price it's at? For me, you've got these wireless controllers. Controllers aren't bad, actually, to be fair. I mean, in his video, he does say they're cheap and nasty, but to be fair, they do the trick. They are designed exactly like the original PlayStation 1 DualShock controllers. They don't feel quite as good, but they're not far off the original PlayStation controllers, to be perfectly honest with you. They're not up to the standard, maybe some new stuff, but if you're used to these are brilliant. And the fact that they're wireless, I can have this any distance I like from the console. The other thing is, of course, there's loads and loads of games, and I like the fact you get loads of games. The console itself, I mean, it's quite cool. It's got a HDMI port, which is the wrong way up. For some reason, the HDMI port's upside down. Then you've got your power supply, an Ethernet port to connect it to the internet, maybe to do updates and downloads, I don't know, and a headphone socket and 2 USB ports. The good thing about the wireless controllers is they run off of one USB. So I did see one of the reviews on AliExpress say, oh, it's only got one USB for one controller, so it's buggered. No, it's not. You've got one USB controls both controllers. It's a dual USB dual controller adapter. Goes in there, you can run both controllers, play 2-player games, which is fantastic, which is the reason why I ended up buying 2. I'll come to that. Now the 64 gig memory card, slotted in the back, there's a little bit of paper over it. Like with everything, I would take this out, make a copy of it, so you've got a backup. If anything ever goes wrong, because the memory card's probably not that good quality, you've got the backup of all the games on it. The other thing is you can see if there's any room on it to put other games, because they do say in the advert when it's for sale that you can add to it, and generally you could add more ROMs if you wanted to. The downside is that if you wanted to, is a word, because there's not actually any room. That 64 gig memory card is absolutely crammed full. It is full to the brim. There's a tiny amount of memory on it to put other games on. You won't fit anything else on it. But the beauty of this system over the previous systems I've shown you on my Mega Drive cartridge, the Game Boy Advance cartridge, and the little Held game console I had, this allows you to save. So on this one, you can save all your positions on all your games that you're playing. So when you go back into your game, carry on from where you were before. Brilliant. It's absolutely perfect. Just the thing I was looking for. And instead of playing a game for hours on end and then thinking, well, I've got to turn it off and that's it, I'm going to lose it. No, on this system, it saves your position. The only thing you must do is remember not to just turn it straight off. Sounds like a daft question, but there's a power switch on the back to switch it on and off. But there in the menu, before you turn it off, there's an option to shut down the system. And you must shut it down properly. If you shut it down, it will then save any game positions that you were at previous to the games you're playing. So before you switch it off, it saves them. When you switch it on again, you're back to where you were. There are some games that crash, and there are occasionally the games that crash mean you do have to switch it off at the back. Luckily, it does save up to your point even till it crashed. I found the N64 version of Yoshi's Story didn't run at all, and that just crashes. A couple of the main games crash, and the ones that are padded out, like the Spectrum and the Atari ST, they don't crash. A couple of them freeze, but you can get back out of it. The nice thing is to get back out of everything, if you press the 2 buttons on the controller, start and select at the same time, and then press them again, it will go back to the main menu. And then you can go back and select some new games and play some new games. So what exactly do I mean by padded out games? Well, for the ZX Spectrum there's over 5,000 games. Now I don't remember there ever being 5,000 Spectrum games in the first place. Same with the Atari ST. The Atari ST, again, there's thousands of games. In fact, on the Atari ST there's 4,742. Again, I don't remember there ever being that many games released initially for the Atari ST. There is, as I said, an extra USB port on this, which might be handy for you would think, for playing the Spectrum and the ST. And some of the other computers, I mean, there's Atari 800, there's a Commodore 64. There are games from computers. So they've got games for them, but you were supposed to be playing them with a keyboard or a mouse in the case of the Atari ST. And of course, you haven't got a mouse. Plug a mouse into this, doesn't do anything, unfortunately. You plug a keyboard into it, doesn't do anything. So the Atari games, hit and miss. Some of them you can actually play because it goes straight into joystick mode. Which is good because there are some really good games I remember and games I like that you can actually play just using the joystick. Spectrum, again, is very much the same. Some of the Spectrum games, there are a couple of the Spectrum games that will go straight into joystick mode, but others you get stuck on the keyboard mode. Now, there is an overlay keyboard as part of this retro system that you pull up on the menu, press the button and it will start into one option, but unfortunately Spectrum games are mainly designed for two types of joystick or the keyboard. You haven't got any of them, so you can't play them. So realistically, that's sort of 10,000 games out of your 33,000 games you've got that aren't really usable on this console. But then all these consoles do that. They list having thousands of games, and a good 10 to 15,000 of those games are games you can't actually play. I think, consoles like this are for playing console games, and that's where it really comes into its own with the console games like the original Nintendo NES, the Nintendo SNES, the Super Nintendo, the Mega Drive, or Genesis as they call it on here, which is in two sections, so there's about 2,000 games for the Genesis, Mega Drive. You've got the Master System before the Mega Drive. You've also got some arcade games, over 1,000 arcade games. You've also got games for the handheld consoles, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. And I showed you Game Boy Advance in my last video, on where I had a handful of games. This has got over 1,000 games for the Advance. They all work, they all play, and they're really, really cool. This is, as I said, as I was talking about in my last video, this is the other way of playing all of those games. The downside, obviously, to this compared to the Game Boy Advance cartridges, it's not portable. Although this is very small, you need to run it on telly. Plus, you've got loads of other consoles and things that you've never really thought you'd ever play before. Games consoles that you know existed, but you weren't born at the time. There's loads of weird ones. Vectrex. The Vectrex actually is a really cool system. As long as you're buying it with the mind that it's going to be a console and you're playing console games, then it's brilliant. If you like retro games, but you really have to be a retro lover. You wouldn't buy this if you weren't, though. Now, unfortunately, it's only a couple of Dreamcast games, which is a bit of a disappointment, but then again, it's only a small box. Maybe it won't run them very well. Chase had a problem with the PlayStation when he said that the PlayStation was a bit slow and timing was out. I haven't found that at all. I found the PlayStation to be perfect. I've played quite a bit of the PlayStation games on my own, and I've also played games with the kids, and I think it's actually brilliant. I've played quite a bit of PlayStation, but there's not a massive selection of games. Same goes for the N64. The N64 plays okay on some things, but not on everything. There's a few of the games on the N64, I said, like Yoshi's Story, that crashes, or other games where the music's really janky and the game graphics are janky and it's not that brilliant. So he found it to be okay with the N64. I'm not so impressed. Although there are some really good games. I think I played Reddit Rumble, really, really good. And of course, Mario 64, Mario Kart, stuff like that. The ones I had trouble with was a South Park game. Now, I have the original South Park game for the PlayStation 1. And it was never as good as the N64. The N64, because it was a 64-bit system as opposed to the 32-bits from the PlayStation, the N64 South Park game was always better. I have it now on this console, and it doesn't play very well. It's a bit janky, the music's well out. Chicken, throw something. No, I can't remember how to throw it. What do I have to press? That's it. Kenny. Kenny. Although you also get South Park Chef's Love Shack, which I haven't played yet, but I think that's probably going to be alright. So why did I buy two? I bought the first one. That was the one I opened up, and it's got the video at the beginning of me opening up and showing you what I've got. Took it round, showed the kids, just to say this is what the retro games used to be like back in my day, before you were born, and they loved it. They played loads of games. My youngest son even knows all the secrets in Mario 64. Now, both of them played it, both of them know what they're supposed to do, but neither of them even considered. I hadn't even met their mum when Mario 64 came out, and yet they knew where to go. They even knew the secrets. If you said to me, oh, go there, go in the cornfield, and you'll get a shortcut. Huh? What? They know everything about it. So I ended up leaving it there, and I had to go and buy another one for myself. So that's why I ended up with two. One for me, I'm keeping 2 controllers, one for them, 2 controllers. So likes and dislikes. I will start with the dislikes first. First dislike is some of the games are padded out. There's, as I said, the stuff for the Atari ST and some of the other arcade ones, which is just loads and loads of stuff that doesn't run and it's not designed to run in the first place. And there are games that crash. There's a few games that crash on it, which is a little bit of disappointment. The N64 side of it not running properly, I was slightly disappointed with that, although they're not the games I would probably play that often. The other thing is the power supply. The power supply, great power supply. I got the right one, whereas in Chase's video he didn't. The downside is it's very short. The lead seems really short. It's actually shorter than my...
But it looks like a giant
Dick!
Pecker!
Wang! Willie! Johnson!
Yes, sir.
However, doesn't mean a problem because I've got the wireless controllers. I can leave the console at the TV. That's not an issue, really. There aren't really any other dislikes to have for it, to be honest. So now the likes. Well, in the price. I bought 2. They're both different prices. When you look on AliExpress, you'll see that the prices vary, they fluctuate. I could have gone more and bought the 44,000 game version. I could have bought the 55,000 game version, but I wanted to try the one he had. It doesn't mean I won't. I might buy the 55,000 game version later on because I'm probably still going to use it. But the price is brilliant. I mean, if you think about it, these controllers, I know they're cheap and they're battery operated, but they're wireless. You know, you would expect to pay for 2 of these. You'd probably pay 15, 20 quid for 2 wireless controllers. You'd probably pay 10 to 15 pound for the case on eBay. I'm pretty sure you would, in fact. HDMI cable's got to be worth a fiver. So if you think of the parts without the actual console itself, you've got 25 quid's worth or 30 quid's worth of gear without even having the console. And that's not including the 64 gig memory card. So the console itself could be worth 10 to 15 quid, maybe more. It's got a fan, it's got ports, it does quite a bit. But then you've got the 64 gig memory card with 33,000 games in it. Now, I was saying earlier I was slightly disappointed with the fact that the Atari ST and the Spectrum games and some of the other games for computers are difficult to run on this console, and they are. But all's not lost because you've got them. If you've got any emulators on your computer, if you have a decent computer and you've got emulators, which you can get emulators for the ST, even for the Game Boy and stuff like that, there's loads of emulators you can get for your PC. That means you've got 4,000 Spectrum, over 4,000 Spectrum games I could play on my PC from this console. Just take the memory card out, or as I said, make a copy of it. Same goes for the Atari ST. There's some really good Atari ST emulators to run on a PC, or in my case a Mac, and you could run those 4,700 Atari ST programs on your computer. So you haven't lost out. They're just not going to play on this console, but you've got them. The other major, like, of course, is the console games that do work. So all of the Nintendo stuff, bar the N64, PlayStation, but mainly the Mega Drive, Master System. Just having Sonic 2 on the Dreamcast is a boon. It's a brilliant game. I love that game so much. I have got it on my Dreamcast, but I can now play it on this. This is perfectly playable without having to get the Dreamcast out of the loft. Oh. And then get bored with it and think, oh, I'm going to go and play Toe Jam and Earl on the Mega Drive, or something else of that nature, Desert Strike or Jungle Strike, or all the strikes that you've got, or go and play a Mario game. I've got all the Mario games I want up to the GameCube and Switch and so on. And I've got a Switch. So you've got everything you want for a ridiculously cheap price. So I have to recommend it. I can't see any reason why you wouldn't want to buy this. It's a really, really good little item. I'm glad I watched Chase's video. And of course, I'm glad that I bought one, or as I said, bought 2. I have got 2 controllers. I've only got one person to play with. Hopefully one day that will change and I'll have 2 people to play with. So, you know, hey, all good fun. So anyway, I will see you in the next video, and I will do a review of that Viltrox Lite in that next video. Cheers. Bye-bye. So this one, we'll open this one first. I know what this is, and I'll do this in a separate review for this, I think. So the first parcel. So this is the Viltrox RB V12 Lite, and I'll get to this. As I said, I'm going to use this in another video, so I'll go through that separately.